This program is being brought to you by Foodland, a company dedicated to the support of Pitt athletics. Foodland, we know what you like. Also by Coke and Cameron Coke. It's the real thing. Breyers ice cream, the all-natural ice cream. Gatorade, the thirst quencher. And by Conn's, the home of the old-fashioned hot dog.
Through a hole at the 50 to 45. He's got a first down. The pass over the middle, caught by Drew. Cuts it back in the 25, 15, 10. And here he goes to the 25, the 20, the 15. Turns, twists, scores. Hooks his way into the end zone for the Panthers touchdown.
The Pittsburgh Panthers charged into their 100th football season with a blistering defense and an electrifying ground attack. But it would be a 19-year-old quarterback who had never before played in a college football game who would step forward and lead this team to a top 20 ranking and a John Hancock Bowl championship. Challenging the nation's best, their character would be tested time and time again. For this squad, which refused to surrender, 1989 would be a season of true grit.
Opening day program.
There was a fiery feeling of anticipation as Panther fans gathered for opening day festivities.
I'm excited for the year. I'm excited for 89.
We're bigger, we're faster, we're better looking.
Let's go Pittsburgh!
While everyone knew that this squad's defense was built to destroy, it was the offense which had people guessing. Freshman Alex Van Pelt had yet to take a snap from center, and many wondered if the kid could handle the pressure of big-time college football. If the first game was any indication at all, the kid was going to be a good one. On the Panthers' first possession of the year, he drove them 90 yards for a touchdown, en route to a 38-3 drowning of Pacific. On the road against Boston College, Van Pelt completed 15 of 18 passes for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, the Pitt defense was on a rampage, accounting for 8 points of their own, including a 57-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown by senior end Carnell Smith. The final score read Pitt 29, Boston College 10. Game 3 saw the Panthers move into prime time as the 10th-ranked Syracuse Orangemen invaded Pitt Stadium. The visitors wasted little time in reversing Pitt's fortunes, scoring on the game's first play.
Reverse pitch with the football is Rob Carpenter. He's going to throw a long pass wide open down the field. Is Rob Moore. He's got the football, and he's going to go all the way for a Syracuse touchdown.
Another team might have surrendered after such an early strike, but on the Panthers' very first play, Van Pelt and senior split end Henry Tootin would strike back.
Van Pelt airing it out to Henry Tootin. He's got it from 15 to 10, the 5, and Tootin is in the end zone for the Panther touchdown.
With the score now even, the Pitt defense began to paint the orange offense a punishing shade of black and blue. The relentless attack of the defensive front line simply overpowered Syracuse, sacking orange quarterbacks 8 times and forcing 4 turnovers. Freshman fullback Derek Lewis helped Pitt capitalize on the Syracuse mistakes. Sophomore sensation Kervin Richards gained over 100 yards for the second time in 3 games, while Van Pelt, operating behind an ironclad wall of protection, completed a remarkable 25 of 32 passes for over 300 yards without an interception and without being sacked. An accomplishment that was reflected in the pride of offensive lineman Dean Calaguire, Chris Getz, Roman Matus, Bill Chirpak, Mike Lavorio, and Chris Estilli.
If you want to be an offensive lineman, you got to be dedicated, all year round. And that's basically what the tradition was. When Bill Fralick was here and Jim Sweeney and all those guys, they set the standard, and now we're just, learning it. We're starting to develop our habits and coming on, and hopefully someday we'll be a tradition just like they are.
The Skirling line cleared the way for Derek Lewis's third touchdown of the game, sealing the Panther victory and moving Pittsburgh into the nation's top 10. High off its victory, Pitt charged into Mountaineer Field. However, things would not fall into place early on for the Panthers. Major Harris and West Virginia rolled up a 31-9 lead against Pitt. Paul Hackett, then Pitt's offensive coordinator, watched Van Pelt suffer through his first rocky start of the season.
We had not played very well early in that game. The defense had actually played considerably better than the offense had. Alex had thrown some errant passes and had some interceptions, but something happened on that sideline. Something happened in that fourth quarter, and it was like something got triggered, and Van Pelt became a much better player.
Down by 22 points with less than 1 quarter to play, the young quarterback's confidence never wavered.
I think deep inside everybody knew that we had the we could definitely come back from that deficit. With our offense the way it was and our defense can hold anybody, I thought 22 points was not too much.
Senior tailback Adam Walker's touchdown dive capped off an 80-yard march downfield and narrowed the gap to 16.
Our offense all year long, it's always been instilled in us that no matter what happens, we can overcome anything. The only thing we kept saying on the sideline, give us the ball, we'll score. Just give us the ball.
The defense did just that. On West Virginia's very next possession, junior linebacker Prentice Wright knocked the ball free, and senior strong safety Dan Crossman made the recovery. With the ball back in his hands, Van Pelt quickly hit Henry Tootin for the touchdown, bringing the Panthers to within 10 and setting up an onside kick.
Everybody in the place knew what was coming. And Van Horn got off a good kick, and it bounced off one of the West Virginia defenders, and Ricky Turner happened to be in a great spot to recover it, and he came up with the onside kick.
When Ricky Turner wrapped his arms around the ball, the Panthers also took hold of the game's momentum. With each play, with every down, this team's undeniable spirit grew.
Poise. That was the feeling. There was a lot of poise in the huddle. Leading, first of all, from my quarterback, Alex Van Pelt. And I think that's where it starts from, because he's your coach on the field. And it all started from Alex. It came through the backfield, through the receivers, and through the offensive line. You could see the look in everyone's eyes like, we're going to do it.
Curvin Richards dashed untouched into the end zone from 9 yards out. And the Pitt Panthers, who were left for dead just 15 minutes earlier, were now breathing down the necks of the Mountaineers. At this point, there was no way that Major Harris and company could stop the crushing tide of Pitt defenders. After 3 plays, West Virginia had to punt, leaving Van Pelt and the Pitt offense just 49 seconds to manufacture a miracle.
At their own 42, Van Pelt is back, steps up, fires the ball down the field, and it is caught on a diving play at the 32-yard line by Henry Tootin at the 33. 11 seconds left. He gets the snap in time. He's back. He's going to throw it. Near sideline, it is caught. Running it out of bounds at the 25-yard line is Hosea Hurd. And with 2 seconds left, the Panthers now have a 42-yard field goal try forthcoming to tie this game. 2 seconds left. The snap, the ball's down. Frazier kicks it. It's long. It's high. And it's good! Oh, boy! Eddie Frazier has tied the game on the last play of the game. This place is shocked, stunned, and silent. And the Panthers celebrate one of the great comebacks in Pitt football history.
It really was the first team effort when we were really down and out. It was a team concept where we found a way to pull each other up and push us on to victory. At that time it was a tie, but when you're 22 points down, that's certainly some kind of victory.
The The Panther Express rolled on to Philadelphia, where a 27-3 win over Temple featured 3 more Van Pelt touchdown passes and lifted Pitt to number 8 in the national polls. Back home against Navy, freshman defensive end number 92 Keith Hamilton was on a search and destroy mission. Linebackers Craig Gobb, Curtis Bray, and Prentice Wright got their licks in, spending much of the afternoon in the Navy backfield. Adam Walker led the way on offense, rushing for over 100 yards and scoring 2 touchdowns. Pitt was now 5-0-1 and headed to South Bend for a showdown with the top-ranked Fighting Irish. In 2 of the last 3 years, the Panthers had come away from the Notre Dame contest as winners. But on this day, the defending national champions were ready. Despite gaining more than 300 yards in offense, the Panthers could only put the ball in the end zone once, as Notre Dame handed Pitt their first loss in 1989. Things did not get any easier for the Panthers. Their next opponent was 1989 national champion, Miami. Although the Hurricanes would escape Pitt Stadium with the win, they would also feel the full fury of a Panther defense designed to confuse and frustrate Miami's aerial attack.
Our greatest performance, I believe, was against Miami. We shut them down probably this year better than any team that they played on their schedule. And they were rolling up big yardage on some good teams. I mean, they put some points on the board against Alabama, against even Florida State. They had a good game. Their coach was even quoted as saying that we defensed them better than any team that they played this year. And that was probably, as a unit, we played the best that day.
A splendid pair of senior tackles, Tony Siragusa and Tom Sims, were part of another outstanding Pitt defensive line, anchored by All-American Mark Spindler, number 93.
You have to be smart and tough. Smart and tough is what does it. Dumb and tough doesn't cut it. Once you cross that line, there's no coming back. You can't think about coming back. You got to go out and give your all that day.
A 1989 Lombardi Award semifinalist, Spindler led this year's punishing Panther hit parade.
We're a bunch of rough and tenacious guys, and we like to get after it. And the thing that I've always recognized, and I think people around the country recognize about Pitt defense, is we're attacking defense.
We press, we press, we press. We're going to keep the heat on you. We were definitely an attacking, swarming type defense. We were all over you all the time.
They call him Swervin' Curvin', and when he got his motor running, it was off to the races for this sophomore speedster. In this game, Richards would outrush the entire East Carolina team, gaining a career-high 264 yards while helping the Panthers put up a season-high 47 points. He has an electrifying style all his own, but statistically, Swervin' Curvin' invites comparison to another Panther legend, Tony Dorsett. Pitt versus Penn State. It is one of college football's premier rivalries, an annual exercise in football fury that turns the field into a gridiron Armageddon. The Panthers had won this war the past 2 years, but early in the second period found themselves down by 10 before the ball finally began to bounce their way. Van Pelt and Richard shifted the offense into high gear and began to knife through the Penn State defense. Richard's runs gobbled up enough yardage to set up an Ed Frazier field goal. Van Pelt then rolled out and found Henry Tootin sprinting toward the goal line. It took just one more play to put the ball in the end zone, tying the score at 10. Curvin Richards banged his way through the defense, leading both teams in rushing with a brilliant 156-yard performance. However, a last-minute field goal would let the Nittany Lions escape with the win. For the Panthers, the blow was softened by a post-game invitation to the John Hancock Bowl in El Paso, Texas. With their bowl invitation safely tucked away, the Panthers first set out on a fantastic journey to faraway Ireland, where they would meet the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers in the second annual Emerald Isle Classic.
I think the Ireland trip was something that was educational, first of all. It was an experience that, even if we never get a chance to go to Ireland again, at least we can say for one time in our lives we've been there. It was an experience that I will always remember because the people there are very friendly, and they welcomed us with open arms, and overall it was an educational experience and a trip that I will never forget.
Once the game began, it would be the Irish fans who would never forget, as they witnessed a Pittsburgh offense that combined over 200 yards rushing with over 300 yards passing. Decimated by injuries, the Pitt offensive line still dominated the line of scrimmage, giving Van Pelt enough time to hit 6 different receivers while not allowing a quarterback sack for the 4th game this season. The final score was Pitt 46, Rutgers 29. From the Emerald Isle to the scenic Southwest, where Pitt had a date with the Aggies of Texas A&M. However, early in December, the university dismissed head coach Mike Gottfried and named Paul Hackett as the team's interim head coach. Hackett quickly called his team together.
Coach Hackett called us on the phone and, says, we can't worry about what's going to happen in the future. We got to, take this game and focus in on it. So what we did was we basically just stuck together. We got down to El Paso and we knew what we had to do. And instead of, like a lot of teams going down to bowl games and just, getting crazy and all that, we kept a focus in mind of the game.
Shortly before kickoff, University President Dr. Wesley Posvar met with the team.
I want to inform you, the first to know, that we have offered the job of permanent head football coach to Paul Hackett.
I think the thing that was the most impressive to me was the ability to put the events of the previous week behind us and focus on El Paso and what El Paso meant. And it meant finishing the season the way we had wanted to. It meant playing an excellent football team, Texas A&M, and really a tremendous challenge.
But this Panther team would meet the challenge head on. Coming into the game as 8-point underdogs to the powerful team from Texas A&M, they played like a team on a mission. It began with the defense. Junior linebacker Nelson Walker led a barrage of blitzing, stunting defenders into the A&M backfield. The Aggie offense was blocked in every direction by the swarming Pitt D. Offensively, the Panthers quickly established their running game.
Richards, the second man through, has got the hole, first down and more. 35-40, 45-50, 45, being pursued at the 40, 35, and forced out of bounds.
The magnificent Curvin Richards raced, rattled, and rolled his way downfield for 35 yards before capping this first quarter drive with a 12-yard sprint to the end zone, putting the Panthers up 7-0. The 16th-ranked Aggies tied the game before Ed Frazier put 3 more points on the board. When A&M came back to tie once again, Coach Hackett needed a big play.
Sprint left Z square, and that was to me. And I just run the 7-step out route, and the ball came and I caught it. And I was shocked because I realized that for the first time I caught the ball, no one was around me. So I knew I had a chance to run. So I just did what came natural.
Throws the pass down the field, allowed to Truitt. Breaks the tackle, 45-40. And he's at the 35, breaks the tackle at the 30. Still on his feet at the 25. Cuts it right. He's running out of gas and will be tackled as he gets to the 10-yard line. But
Inside the 10-yard line, Ronald Redmond recalled Coach Hackett's game plan.
All week long, we were taught that every time we get inside the 30-yard line, Texas A&M is a type of team that likes to blitz. And they came on an all-out blitz. The middle linebacker shot the gaps. And when I ran to do my out route and I looked back, the linebackers had already shot into Alex, which was great because that's what we wanted. Alex dinked the ball to me and I caught it, and 6 points. And the rest, as they say, was history.
Up 17-10 at the half, the Panthers kept the heat on in the third period. Orlando Truitt picked up right where he left off with a 32-yard sideline burst that came up just short of the goal line. As he had done all season long, Van Pelt followed his powerful offensive line to pay dirt, making the score Pittsburgh 24, A&M 10. But the stubborn Aggies would not simply roll over, and they mounted an impressive comeback.
We played well. We played in control of the football game most of the time, but lo and behold, in the fourth quarter, we're behind, we're down. Once again, that adversity, that tough situation that really showed great character. I think it really showed that we have the ability to be and play as a mature, together team.
Trailing by 4, 3rd and 10 on their own 16. Tight end Lionel Sykes made a spectacular catch to keep the Panther hopes alive.
Run left, going to throw the ball down the field, and it will be caught by Lionel Sykes up the field. First down, 35-40. He's still on his feet and dragged down at the 44-yard line.
Now, with just over 2 minutes to play, Van Pelt and company knew exactly what they had to do.
It was supposed to be a square out, about a 12-yard square out. And I told Alex prior to me leaving the huddle that they may blitz. And if they blitz, then I'm going to tap my helmet and then convert into a fade route.
He tapped his helmet, which is the indication for a go route, and, picked it up and dropped back, and the line held out long enough, and I just threw it up in the air, honestly, and it was just a great play.
Van Pelt launched a picture-perfect pass into the outstretched arms of Henry Tootin, who carried it into the end zone for the go-ahead score. The completion not only put 6 points on the board, but also put Alex Van Pelt into the Pittsburgh record book, breaking Dan Marino's 1981 single-season passing mark. Texas A&M would mount one final charge, but the Pitt defense would come up big. Freshman cornerback Barry Threets ended any Aggie comeback hopes when he came down with his biggest interception of the year. For Paul Hackett, the 31-28 victory was his very first as a collegiate head coach. And for the Pittsburgh Panthers, the triumph christened a new era of excellence yet to come. Heading into a brand new decade with an impressive array of returning talent, Coach Hackett and his squad will build upon this season of success, looking back upon their triumphs of 1989 as a foundation formed by true grit.
This program is being brought to you by Foodland, a company dedicated to the support of Pitt athletics. Foodland, we know what you like.
This delicate orchid bears the vanilla bean. This may be the first time you've ever seen natural vanilla. And this may be the first time you've really tasted it. Breyers all-natural ice cream. Nothing artificial, just fresh milk, real cream, pure sugar. so that true vanilla taste really comes through. Breyers ice cream. It's like tasting vanilla for the first time.
Capture that refreshing feeling of the relaxing beach. Or become part of the peacefulness of nature. Remember the coolness of wet sand on a sultry day? Stop looking around. Run and capture the refreshing taste of Gatorade, the thirst quencher. Gatorade will give you the relief you've been searching for. And Gatorade comes in a wide variety of sizes and flavors to douse the fires of a summertime thirst. Don't let the hot-paced summer get the best of you. Enjoy the season with a refreshing thirst quencher. Gatorade.
There's a great new taste you can't put down. Conn's corn dogs, they just hit town. Hey, Mom, we want Conn's corn dogs. Corn dogs. Conn's hot dogs and cornbread, heat and eat. It's a meal on a stick that can't be beat. Hey, Mom, we want Conn's corn dogs. Corn dogs. Get them at your store in the hot dog section. Conn's corn dogs are pure perfection. Hey, Mom, we want Conn's corn dogs. Corn dogs.
Teamwork, talent, tradition. These words have embodied the spirit of both the Cameron Coca-Cola Bottling Company and the University of Pittsburgh. Together, these two fine organizations have teamed up to bring you a tradition of unmatched excellence. Cameron Coca-Cola and the Pitt Panthers, you can't beat the real thing.